Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're making another video showcasing some more of Luke Cage. In the first video I posted not too long ago, I was focused more on the basics of Luke Cage and how well Luke Cage does against many of the toughest defenders in the game and their abilities they have. But as many of you know, Act 9.1 got released recently, so I thought this would be a very good time to kind of showcase what Luke Cage can do in some more complex situations and maybe give you some tips and tricks that you can kind of use to help you get through Act 9.1 if you haven't done it yet. So the first kind of two videos we have here aren't from Act 1. I thought we'd start with more easy stuff. This is actually the side quest for this week. And, here you have to have 6 or more debuffs on the opponent when you knock them down. If you have 6 or more debuffs, then when you knock them down, they're going to take a big burst of damage. But if not, you're going to take damage. So obviously, Luke Cage is going to be very good for nodes that require you to have a lot of debuffs. And, kind of the key here is you don't want to use your heavy attack to get the debilitate on in the beginning of the fight like I typically do, at least until you have 6 of the exhaustion debuffs on. So, these are all Mystic Defenders. I mean, this is all a very easy path for Luke Cage. But again, I just kind of wanted to start out easy and just showcase, one of the benefits of Luke Cage is that he has very easy access to a good variety of debuffs. So obviously any node that requires you to have lots of debuffs, he's going to be very, very good for. So, the other end of the video, the last 6 minutes, will kind of showcase my crystal opening from 9.1. So if you're interested to see what I got, you can obviously stick around towards the end of the video and see what I obtained. But you can see when we knocked him down, Diablo there, we had a nice burst of 105,000 damage on that. So next up we have Purgatory here. I like Luke Cage for Purgatory because obviously she has a lot of passive power gain and his exhaustions will kind of help counter a lot of her power gain. So she's not going to be launching specials nearly as much as what she would have. Not sure why I used a heavy attack to knock her down there. Probably should have waited until I had a little bit more debuffs on her, but that's all right. And you can see that special easily finishes her off. All right, we're going to move to a more interesting fight here. So this is going to be the last fight before we get into Act 9. So I thought this was a fun fight to showcase. This is the Summer of Suffering Photon for this week. And I primarily wanted to put Photon in here just because in my last video, I stated I didn't know once the concussions were up if you were going to be able to dex her undexable, unblockable specials when she was in her pure light form. So if you kind of watch this fight, I'm going to answer that question for you. And this is actually some great nodes for Luke Cage because you're going to get to your special 2 a lot quicker. So here you're going to be able to stack up a lot more concussions than what you typically would. And concussions are just going to shut down all of her abilities. So you can see I pushed her to a special 3. It didn't matter because my indestructible is still active. And now we're going to put our second concussion on her. So at this point, her ability accuracy is reduced by 150%. So you can see she's not gaining any charges at this point. We can parry. She's not going, invisible. And I think we're at some point I'm going to be able to stack like 3 concussions on. So it's very good in the nodes where that increase the amount of special attacks you can throw in the fight. Now, typically, when you throw more specials, you're going to get damage taken back with, this particular fight. But with Luke Cage concussions, you shut down that node. So, he's actually a very good photon counter, both in, Battlegrounds, Summer of Suffering, things like that. But I might have missed it. But at some point, to to answer the question in the beginning, you cannot dex photons, unblockable, undexable, pure light specials, even when the concussions are up, but you can block them. There's, I think, 25% chance when the concussions are up, they're going to be unblockable. So it's always good to have your indestructible up, but you can block consistently or unblockable specials. So he's a very good counter to photon. So here we're finally getting into Act 9. This is Diablo. And this is a path made for science champions. So here you have to have 3 debuffs on the opponent to deal damage to them. But when you knock them down with a special or a heavy attack, you're going to make them debuff immune. So the key in this path is not to knock them down with heavy attacks or specials. And for Luke Cage, that seems like that's not ideal because you want to do the heavy attack to get that debilitate, to increase your attack rating. You want to do specials to put the concussion on. But you don't need it because this, path also has this node. When you intercept them, you get guaranteed critical hits. So Luke Cage is actually a very good option for this path. Just don't use your heavy attacks. Don't use your special attacks. Just try to intercept them, get your guaranteed critical hits, and just spam light attacks. And you're always going to have more than 3 debuffs on the opponent once you initially get those 3 on. And then you're just going to do some major critical damage, throughout this fight. And, these million-plus health defenders in this path are going to go down very quickly. So, I thought this was just kind of another nice little showcase of what you can do without using your specials or heavy attacks with Luke Cage. The other thing I'm going to showcase just a little bit later in this path is against Dr. Doom. Obviously, Dr. Doom has some very high crit resistance. So, you may think that Luke Cage, doing all these critical hits is not going to be good for Dr. Doom. But that's not the case because once you get to 6 exhaustions, you put the Sunder debuff on, his crit resistance is going to go to 0. So, he finishes Dr. Doom just as quickly as he does, all these other fights in this path. So, next up we have Wong. You probably... I shouldn't say you probably. So, I've tried this out before. I was just thinking in my mind, if you did a special 2, you put the concussions on, that should turn off the node since they're Mystic Defenders where they're going to go debuff immune when you knock them down with a heavier special attack. I tried that earlier in the path, and for whatever reason, that's just not how, Luke Cage interacts with that node. I believe the concussions go on after the special 2 finishes as he knocks them down. So for whatever reason, even though the concussions appear, they get purified or taken away, as soon as the defender falls down after the special 2. So, I thought you could just shut down the nodes in this path after the special 2, but that's not the case when there's that node. When you knock them down, they're going to go debuff immune. So can't use any special attacks or can't use any heavy attacks in this path, which is fine. All you need to do is just intercept, spam your light attacks, and you're going to do some great critical damage. So you can see even against Dr. Doom, who has very high crit resistance, our Sunder debuff is on. We're doing 25k medium attacks, 16,000 light attacks, and Dr. Doom's going down very quickly here. So I forget, this is like the 3rd or 4th kind of chapter in 9.1. But, once you come to this path, I highly recommend you use Luke Cage. Very easy counter to many of these defenders there. So next up we have a boss, long shot boss. This is from the very first chapter in Act 9.1. And Longshot has this ability where he has a 50% chance to block light and medium attacks. You can get a crush passive when you use a striker. So that's what this fight wants you to do, is use strikers, get the crush, and kind of bypass that auto block mechanic. There's a node where when you're close to him, you gain placebo buffs. That is not good, because if Longshot nullifies those off his special 2, that's just more fuel for him to incinerate you and do big damage. So, what I like about Luke Cage in this fight is once you get to your special 2, get your concussions on, he can no longer nullify buffs off his special 2. So right there, we should have taken some incinerate damage, because he should have nullified that that placebo buff I had on me. But, you don't have to worry about blocking his special 2, getting your buffs nullified, taking incinerate damage in this fight. So he can be very, very good counter to this Longshot. I'm not really sure why, his ability accuracy is being reduced by, over 200% now. So it should turn off the node where he auto blocks. And I'm not sure why that doesn't happen in this fight. Obviously, we're getting around that by just using strikers and putting our crush passive on Longshot. But again, I'm not sure why he's still able to auto block. But it doesn't really matter. At this point, we're just going to go into the special 1 stun chain and just finish him off. So he's not going to be able to hit us the rest of the fight. And, that's another thing I love about Luke Cage, is this special 1 stun chain. He's very much like the Hulk. You can do a lot of damage with that special 1 stun chain for sure. So next up we have Silver Surfer. This is another one of the bosses from, I believe, the first little part in 9.1. This is a pretty easy fight. There's nothing really specific here. I think he gets some power gain when buffs fall off of you. Obviously, Luke Cage doesn't rely on any buffs other than the dexterity. And it doesn't really matter anyways, because any passive power gain, Luke Cage is going to counter with his exhaustion debuffs. And then you can see there, after the special, he's going to go stun immune. So that's really the only hard things in this fight. This isn't really a hard fight at all. But once the concussion is up, he's no longer going to go stun immune after his special attacks, and then he just becomes that much easier of a defender. So you can see he just used his special 1. He didn't get the stun immunity. Again, using a special 1, didn't get the stun immunity. So we're just kind of turning that node off. And, once that node's off, it's pretty straightforward. Silver Surfer, not much else is going on. Just avoid his special attacks and keep spamming your special 2s to keep the concussion up, and you're golden for the rest of the fight. So probably do one more special 2 here. And then we're going to push him to a special 3. Doesn't matter. Our indestructible is still active. So Luke isn't going to take any damage here. At this point, we can just go into a special 1 stun chain. I'm not sure why I didn't do the special 1 stun chain there. That would have finished him off pretty easily, but I think we're going to finish him off with this special 2. So, again, it's not one of the harder bosses in Act 9.1 at all. Next up, we have Gladiator Hulk. Gladiator Hulk, he starts power locked unless you dodge one of his attacks, because that'll put a taunt debuff on. If you don't, he just builds up to a special 3, and then he automatically becomes unpower locked, and he's going to attack you with a special 3. So what this fight wants you to do is it wants you to kind of dodge his attack at the right moment when he's like over a bar or 2 of power to unlock his specials so that he throws them without building to a special 3. What can make this hard is he's going to go unstoppable as just part of his natural abilities. And if you dodge too much, I think it's 7 times, then he's going to go unblockable. And the other thing is whenever you gain an indestructible or an unblockable or unstoppable, he's going to get that matching debuff. So here we're just going to push him to a special 3. It doesn't really matter because I know I got my indestructible up. So watch what happens here. He has 1.2 million health. And at this point in the fight, right around when he has 58% health, so we're going to build up to a special 1. So right around this point in the fight, this is when we're going to start our special 1 stun chain. He has about 700,000 health left. And Luke Cage is going to take him down with his special 1 stun chain before he ever gets another chance to throw that special 3 that he has or attack us again. So, this is how powerful this special 1 stun chain can do. We're able to take off 700,000 health from this Gladiator Hulk without him being able to attack us just from that special 1 chain. So, that's a pretty powerful ability. It's very similar to Hulk, off his special 1 and that very long stun chain that he gets as well. So next up we have a very fun fight for Luke Cage, and that's Storm Pyramid X. She's going to gain a lot of paralysis in this fight. So if you get clipped by one of her special attacks, it's going to kill you. When you knock her down, you can steal one of those paralysis effects just to help your special attacks out a little bit. And also when you knock her down, whether that's with a heavy or special, she will gain some power when hitting into your block. Again, Luke Cage will just counter all that passive power gain with his exhaustion, so it doesn't really matter. And then, of course, the most annoying thing with Storm Pyramid X is all these glancing abilities that she has. So, the first little part of this fight can be a little rough because she's going to glance a lot and we're not going to put those debuffs on her. So now that I have 5 exhaustions, I'm able to do the special 2. We got that concussion up, and now this fight's going to be so much easier. Look how much less frequently she's going to glance now that that concussion is up. So, I used to hate fighting Storm Pyramid X. I hate fighting champions that glance a lot like that. But, Luke Cage can just shut down that glancing ability. Not completely. She still has a 25% chance to glance, but, it's a lot less frequent and a lot easier, once that concussion is up. I think I actually lost my concussion there for a second. That's all right. We got it back up at this point in the fight. And, once her concussion's up, just always try to bait her special 1. You're going to be able to easily dodge that one. You can see she has like over 15 paralysis right now. So if she clipped us with a special 1, we would definitely die. Or even a special 2, even worse. But, we do have our indestructibility up, even if she did clip us, so it wouldn't kill us anyways. But, I just think that's cool. You can use Luke Cage to kind of bypass, the glancing mechanic in, some fights. And there's not too many champions that can bypass the glancing mechanic. So next up we have the Overseer. This is another, another one of the boss fights. So if you're close to him, he's going to put the stagger debuffs on you, which is going to nullify your buffs. Luke Cage does not rely on any buffs in his kit. He just has the dexterity, the precision from the dexterity. So, that's another thing I didn't talk about or showcase in the first video is that Luke Cage is not buff dependent. He's not buff immune, but he's not buff dependent. So any matchup where there's like staggers or nullify, it doesn't matter. Luke Cage's damage is still going to be really good. The other problem here is when you hit into his block, whether that's auto block or just regular block, you're going to get concussions on, reduce your ability accuracy. But what we're going to do is just put the concussion on. And now the great thing, once that concussion is up, is when he throws, a special attack like he does here, he doesn't even activate that mechanic where he's going to auto block you afterwards. I believe there's like one time in this fight where he does activate that auto block. There, the concussion wasn't up, so that's why that activated. But there is one point in this fight where the concussion is up and he activates the auto block mechanic. But even though it activates, it never actually triggers an auto block. So, there's a very good chance once the concussion is up, you're just going to shut down his auto block, abilities after a special attack. The other thing is, I believe you take damage when you throw specials against the Overseer, and you're going to shut down that ability as well once that concussion is up. So, that concussion is just so powerful in such a variety of matchups and situations. So watch, he's not even going to activate his auto block right there. Didn't even activate his auto block mechanic. Nice special 2 there. That was close to 200,000 damage. Didn't even activate his auto block mechanic. At this point, there's 2 concussions up, so his ability accuracy is totally shut down at this point. Just go into the special 1 and finish him off here. So finish that fight with 100% health. Another kind of useful technique you can use to bypass some abilities there. So this is the Black Widow Clairvoyant. A lot of people think she's a very difficult boss. She's going to gain a lot of regeneration in this. And she's going to go have that footloose where she goes unstoppable and evade after a special. The other thing, if you don't have a bleed immune defender, you're going to take a lot of chip damage just from all the bleeds you're going to get in this fight. Now, I had somebody say, why would you bring Luke Cage? He's bleed immune. That's just going to, give her power whenever someone's immune to one of her effects. Well, Luke Cage has the exhaustions up, so we can counter all that passive power gain. Now, here in this fight, the key to this fight is you cannot intercept her until after you do the special 2. Because if you intercept her, take that protection down that she has, once that protection comes up, all those debuffs that you have are going to go away. So it's very important to get the special 2 first, then intercept her, get that protection node down, and then you can start doing your damage. And you've just turned off every node and every ability she has it as a defender at this point. So, if you look back at the beginning of the fight, I just rushed to the special 2. I pushed her to the special 3, but I got my concussions up, and my indestructible was still up, so it didn't matter. I didn't take any damage. And, once you get those first 2 concussions on in this fight, this fight is just a joke at this point. There's nothing else you have to worry about. She's never going to go unstoppable in this fight. She's never going to evade. She's not gaining power from me being bleed immune. It's just a piece of cake fight with Luke Cage. So I personally think he's the best counter, the safest counter to this fight. I know a lot of people used champions that reversed regeneration, but I think you just shut it down and don't even worry about it. So, and then in my last video, I kind of showcased how Luke Cage can do against Hulkling. I believe this pathway and node was designed for like Mystic champions, but he has a protection node up that only goes down once he finishes a special attack, and he becomes stun immune after he finishes the special attack. So this isn't a very hard set of nodes, but it is a big high health pool Hulkling, and obviously Hulkling has the regeneration, he has the indestructible, he has the unblockables. So with all the debuffs that we have, we're able to shut down his regeneration in this fight. And then once you get a concussion on him, then he's not going to gain his buffs nearly as frequently. So he's going to go indestructible a lot less. He's going to not get his pierce debuffs. This is why the special 3 did very little damage to me here. I didn't have my indestructible up, but he had no buffs really to do any damage off of that special 3. So, that's Luke Cage can be a very good counter to Hulkling in, a lot of scenarios. So So now his ability accuracy is reduced by 150%. We have the 2 concussions up. He shouldn't gain any more buffs while the 2 concussions are up. So, I mean, at this point, we can parry, even though he should have went unblockable there with only 1 charge to go unblockable. He didn't. You can see when we hit him, he's not going to gain any indestructible charges. He should have been indestructible a long time ago. So, you know, he's a very good counter to Hulkling as well, even with extra nodes and things on him. So, you know, I just wanted to hope that helps you. You know, maybe you haven't done Act 9.1 yet. You know, I think there's some difficult paths and things in that Act 9. I thought it was a lot harder than Act 8 personally, but if you have Luke Cage, bring him in at some point because you're gonna use him. You're gonna make that a lot easier for yourself. So that was the last time I finished the final boss off, and we just 100% explored Act 9.1. So this is the part of the video where we're just going to do our crystal opening here. And honestly, I was very disappointed with the crystal opening. I didn't get anything that I wanted, but it's all right. I did get the tier 4 basics, or the tier 4 alpha catalyst. I have enough to do another rank 3, and I'm going to take Warlock up to rank 3. I've been dying to take him to rank 3. I use him all the time in Battlegrounds for some very tough defenders like Dust. He's very good counter to Mr. Sinister. He's my favorite counter to Bullseye. So those 26 we got from exploring it, I just put into Luke Cage immediately. There's only 2 7-stars that I want to max Sig at this point. One is Luke Cage. The other is Korg for defense. Korg I'm going to get 26 on from this calendar right here. So I figured I'd just put him into Luke Cage at this point. So I don't know how I got 42, 25% tier 6 class catalyst, but that's a ton of class catalysts. So we're going to open those. We're going to open this 6-star relic Nexus. I was hoping to get Captain America. Captain America is a very good relic to use with Luke Cage. Luke Cage can get some extra damage and block proficiency with the Captain America relic. The most I have is an unduped 5-star cap relic, but obviously I didn't get Captain America there. So I need to equip Luke Cage with that. None of these fights have been with that Captain America relic, but he would gain some extra damage and benefits from that. So these are just all the tier 6 class catalyst crystals that I've opened here. I'm just going to open these little 5% ones. I believe we have one more 6-star relic to open. Oh, actually, we're just going into our 3 7-stars here. So there's a lot of good 7-stars from this basic that I wanted. You know, I don't have an Onslaught. I don't have Kushala. Don't have Bullseye. I'd love a dupe on my Killmonger. So I was just kind of hoping for that. This was a bad pool. I'm not saying that War Machine's a bad champion, especially a first-time awakening, but I never use him. And he's just going to sit on my roster. Again, this isn't a bad pool. You know, Crossbones can be a very good champion. I just find him very difficult and very stressful to play. So I don't really use him or enjoy playing him. And I just popped the last one and I got another Crossbones. So that was very frustrating to get 2 Crossbones and a War Machine. I mean, there was nothing there that I wanted. Again, out of this, I was looking for the Cap America relic. Didn't get him. So now I'm just kind of looking at my 7-star roster because I wanted to see what class of 7-star crystal that I wanted. Obviously, Science is probably the best 7-star. You know, that dupe on Photon would be great. Titania would be awesome there, but not much else I want. So skill, I want a Killmonger dupe more than anything. I want a Tuma. I'd be happy with a Shang-Chi. I want Bullseye. There's a lot of pools that I wanted from that. Mutant, I really just wanted Bishop or Onslaught. Cosmic, I mean, there's really nobody I was like dying for. Same thing with Tech. Obviously, I would love to have Red Skull. And then Jugs and Kushala. I thought about going for Mystic because Jugs or Kushala or dupe on America Chavez would have been great. But I ultimately decided to go with skill because, you know, there was like 4 or 5 kind of pools that I would have been happy with. Because I'm primarily looking for more defenders in Battlegrounds, more 7-star defenders. So I decided ultimately to go with the skill here. And let's see who I get. And spoiler alert, this is another disappointing pool. I ended up getting a 7-star version of Falcon. Falcon's not a bad champion, but I already had him duped. I mean, this is just extra SIGs on Falcon, which is good. I mean, it's extra damage, but again, definitely not what I was looking for. So, disappointing crystal opening, but hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you later, guys.